Fantastic. So welcome everybody to the October/November accounting call. I know that we've been cheating a little bit combining months. Going forward, we are looking to get back on a regular schedule where we're doing the calls once a month. Now that Jessica's on board and up to speed, she's going to be heavily involved with these, planning the agendas and whatnot. So that should make things quite a bit easier. So again, one more time, welcome. If anyone is not receiving this invitation, I have a few names already written down, but someone else told you about it, let me know and I can add you to the master invitation list. Or if you know anyone else that would like to join that didn't get an invitation, let me know and I will make sure that they get added on that invitation list. So in front of you, you can see one of the greatest TV shows ever, The Office. One of my favorite quotes, Michael Scott is probably one of the best characters I've ever seen as well. So hope you enjoyed that. To start, I wanted to talk about the election, and no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna touch that. We have Thanksgiving, Black Friday coming up. It seems like talking to people, everyone has mixed feelings about Black Friday shopping. Myself, I love it because it gets me out of my in-laws. I can actually take a break for like an hour and a half. Even if I don't have anything to buy, it gives me an excuse to leave. So I'm in favor of Black Friday being on Thursday now. So anyone that wants to dispute that obviously doesn't go to their in-laws very often. Sports Minute, Cubs win. I really don't need to talk about anything other than the fact that the Cubs won. 108 years in the making. I'm an A's fan, and I was rooting for them. People of Cleveland can't feel that bad for them. They won an NBA title. But Cubs win, Cubs win, Cubs win. All right, now actual work-related stuff. We're going to talk about the DNA for a second, just like we always do. If this is familiar, then you need to reach out, or if this is not familiar, you need to reach out to Lindsay and Samia immediately to discuss it. But hopefully everyone has seen this. We talk about this on most of our calls in the company because it's such an important part of our company and our belief structure and how we operate. This time I wanted to focus on the ethical part of it, especially in the positions that most of you are in, really any position in our company. The ethical part is such a big part of that. As you can see, I don't know how big it is on your guys' screens, but see if I can make it bigger there. The 3 points, or sub-points I should say, for ethical is make wise decisions, treat others as you wish to be treated. That kind of goes to the golden rule that we always talk about. It takes less time to do things right than to explain why you did them wrong. That is very true. If you've ever been asked to justify why you did something, then you can definitely attest to that. There is no such thing as a minor lapse of integrity. I am a big, big believer in that. Okay, so I have 2 quotes that go along with this. One is from, oops, not my calendar, or my calculator. Miss Rand. She is a Russian-American author from the early to mid-1900s. She says, ethics is a code of values which guide our choices and actions and determine the purpose and course of our lives. So, not a small thing. Building off of that, someone that most of you should have heard of, Benjamin Franklin. Words may show a man's wit, but actions his meaning. The reason I think it's important is every day in our job, we're given an opportunity to prove what our ethical makeup is, whether it be something as simple or in black and white as financial, dealing with money, dealing with payments, as well as the little things that kind of guide our day-to-day operations. So I think it is a very key part of our DNA and really incorporating it into our lives. Now, the reality of ethics is that sooner or later, most things in life come to light, no matter how much you try to hide it. So if you're not ethical, those things do crop up. Sometimes it is quicker than others, but it does come to light. Very rarely do secrets stay a secret. So if you're not being ethical, it tends to pop up and bite you. And really, the general rule is the easiest thing in life to remember is the truth. So if you stick to that, you're doing well. Now, as we talk about the DNA, I have a weird twist compared to most people. I like to tell you how it's self-serving to use the DNA. Kind of bring it back into a selfish nature that I have. And the simple point is, with ethics, if you do the things for the right reason, you stand a better chance of making the right decision. If you've not already experienced a situation where you've had to make a key decision, maybe without clear guidelines in front of you, if you rely on the pledge and trying to follow the DNA, then more often than not, you're going to be on the right path and you're not going to get in trouble for doing that because you're making the best decision you can based on our principles and the principles that hopefully you hold dear as well. So that is how ethics can actually be. Ethics and ethical decision making can be self-serving. A bit of an oxymoron, but it's true. Well, it has been a little while since our last call, so I know that a lot of you have been submitting help desk tickets, which I applaud. A lot of you still tend to skirt around that issue by doing direct phone calls, Skype messaging, Slack, etc. So as I always do, I really would like to emphasize the need to go through the proper channels, contact help desk first, and then initiate a secondary conversation if needed. Or we might reach out to you. Again, it is really important because we need to log these things and we need to make sure it's taken care of in a timely fashion. Jessica and myself, as well as many of the other corporate staff, if you've not already caught on, tend to travel. So direct communication leaves yourself open to not having things taken care of in a correct, or a timely fashion. So please, 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 it's our monthly push to please use help desk properly. I'm going to bring the agenda up. I did not send this out. This way you can kind of follow along with what I'm going here. Policy enforcement is the next big point. A lot of times, help desk and sometimes accounting can come across almost like we're the police. We're the bad cops. We're the ones that are telling you can't do things. And that's unfortunate because it is very important in our department that we offer assistance to the sites, that we can help them succeed, help them in any way possible. But unfortunately, it does fall on us to make sure that the policies that were put in place by people higher up the food chain are enforced. And so sometimes we have to be the bearer of bad news. So I ask that you bear with us when we have to do that because it's not something that we have as a personal grudge or anything else. It's just part of our job is to make sure that everyone's on the same page because really that benefits everyone in the long run, making sure everyone's doing the same thing at the same time. So I want to kind of talk about that. All right, those of you in Entrada probably noticed an update in the last few days where some of the menus have changed. We are aware of it. We have actually contacted Entrada to let them know that we're not necessarily a big fan. Change is never fun. It's usually good, but not always. But we have let them know that ideally we would actually like them to have a setting. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's under setting screens like residence. This filter screen on the left used to automatically be out there. Now there's an additional step where you can actually go into the filters and kind of maneuver it this way. They did this to make everything consistent on all the different screens because some of the screens had it hidden like that and some of it had it permanently to the side. So that was the purpose behind it. We understand that it's not what we're used to. We've asked that we can maybe toggle it back and forth, but for right now it is what it is. So we are aware of it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do about it. The biggest point of advice that we can give you that we've already seen is that as people are trying to use these things, they're forgetting to actually set some of the filters. And so they're not getting the correct information because it's not quite as clear as it was before. So please be careful as you're doing that. One other thing I wanted to mention, Jessica, are you on the call?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to pass the time over to you for a second to explain this screen that everyone should now see in front of you. So go ahead, Jess.
All right, well, we have been seeing a few instances lately that the scheduled charges are either not showing up when generating new leases for applicants or even saying that there isn't any rent charges set up when you're trying to screen them either. So, I mean, of course, you can always call us or email us and let us know if you need any help and we can help you, but there is now an option to update all of the charges. And if you go to their account and the financial tab, scheduled charges, and under the recurring tab, there is that highlighted updated all charges. If you click that, it should refresh all of their charges and everything will be accurate from there on out. But if you do not have an error or anything happening, I would suggest not using that button, or it might double charge on accident, which is easy fix. You can remove it, but only select that button if you're having problems. And that's, yes, Linda, it says those are usually only shows up if you do have errors or problems, but it only shows on applicants or leads. It's not usually in current residents. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. Thank you, Jess.
You're welcome.
I know that these calls continue to take a heavy Entrada turn. So I wanted to let you all know that we are actually getting closer and closer to getting everybody on Entrada. There was one significant obstacle that remained from moving our conventional sites over. That is pretty close to being overcome. So we will be in touch with you as soon as it is to let you know what the plan is in order to migrate you. So hopefully you start filling the love a little bit more if you're on RealPage, since a lot of these topics are specific to Entrada. On that same note, a lot of sites have had kind of some sporadic screening delays with Entrada. And that can be for a variety of reasons. Some of the states actually have to do a physical verification of some criminal stuff. North Carolina has a slight delay because of things like that. But I wanted to mention it because what we would like you guys to start doing is actually working directly with Entrada, because really Jess and I have no control over screening. And we 100% of the time end up going directly to Entrada ourselves. And so it actually will save you a little bit of time to bypass us. We are happy to be kept in the loop. If it's a larger problem or it's happening a lot, please let us know so that we can work with our reps to see if there's a deeper issue. But on one-off occurrences, we do suggest that you go directly to Entrada. You can always call them, but one of the things that I'm actually becoming more and more of a fan of is the chat feature, which once you click contact support is hiding currently. There it is, right there. You fill out the basic information like you would a ticket you're sending in, but it will actually give you a live chat with somebody. The reason I like it is it makes it much easier to multitask so that you're not holding a phone to your ear, you're not on speaker, you're not trying, it makes it a little bit easier to multitask and to wait out the process. I assume most of you are busy. I doubt anyone is sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And so for screening in particular, I suggest putting it out here. It allows them to research it and you can continue working. And if your speakers are on, it will actually ding whenever they're typing to you. So this is a key thing that I kind of suggest to help with those screening delays, or it's something that could actually be used for any help desk issue. But screening delays is just one where we 100% encourage going directly to Entrada to cut out the middleman. Okay, one thing that has been coming up a lot, especially as we're entering renewal and pre-lease season for student sites, we're noticing that some people are struggling to find notification. Our industry, we tend to have staff turnover, especially with leasing, and sometimes we're finding that that people are not getting the correct communication from the software that they need to. Well, obviously you can contact help desk, but it's actually easier, and you should have access to it to manage it in-house if you can. Please feel free to let us know if you need it. We're happy to help. But just as an example, where I'm talking about, where you could edit this is under Setup and Properties. You're going to select your property, and it's going to be under Communication, Notification Recipients. This is where you can actually set up direct email addresses, go through and say, these are the different messages that I want that person to get. The only thing I caution is if you have a distribution list for a general office email, such as info@therepublic.apts or leasing@ whatever, that will automatically get distributed, that you don't double up and make it so that someone's getting double of those. But this is very valuable because the dashboard is fantastic, but I tend to like getting emails when things happen because it brings it immediately to my attention. So please, 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 even if this isn't something that's normally your responsibility, talk to your manager, your office manager, if that's not you, and your lease manager, whatever the title may be, and show them where this is. If you do not have access, reach out immediately and I will give it to you. I'm happy to, because this is something that is really important to keep updated so that we're not missing communication from the system to let us know what's going on. And this is one thing that's really nice that Entrada offers. We're just not doing a fantastic job yet of internally utilizing it at the site level. Okay, so I mentioned before this call was going to be a little bit heavy on policies. I apologize for that, but the next point is having to do with transfers. we're starting to see a lot of transfer requests where people are trying to find the best way to accommodate a transfer to provide good customer service while not impacting their bottom line. But we have verified with Lauren Arb, he's a pretty big name in our company, that our policy is the residents must have a zero balance on both accounts before a transfer is approved. We were seeing too many instances where someone owed, something like $500 of damages on one account, and yet they were current on another account and had a zero balance on that. We do not want instances where we're trying to manage two accounts like that. A transfer is a privilege. We're not obligated most times to provide. We would like to do it to help residents out, to provide good customer service, but they need to make sure they're taking care of their balances at the same time so that we're not having to try and track it. It really does not make any logical sense for someone to owe us a large chunk of money on one account and be up to date on the other and think that that's okay. It's just, it doesn't really make a lot of logical sense. There are some exceptions. Obviously, utilities would be the biggest one. Occasionally, utility billing will come in later and get billed directly to their old account. But for the most part, you do need to make sure that you have arrangements to make it a $0 balance before you process the transfer. And that should be made clear to the residents as well in a very polite manner. Inter-community transfers. I'm not sure I used the right word there, but we have situations such as Centennial Ridge, Centennial Village, Kings Cross, Kings Point, even in North Carolina with the U Suites, Raleigh, where we have sister properties. Anytime that you're doing switches from one site to the other, that's not the exact same property, you actually need to treat them as separate. New guest card payments, etc. There's not a way of really linking it. You don't share bank accounts. It creates a big mess when we try to do that. So if you have that come up, just be aware. In Entrada, the biggest problem that comes up is the email. You can't have the same email address on multiple accounts, so you need to put a placeholder email in that spot until it switches, and make note of that. So that is one thing that I would caution. Appreciate Jess mentioned that. I just wanted to bring that up on the call because we have seen an increase of that. Okay, admin and app fee. This is coming up a lot as well. The only time that we reverse an admin or an app fee is if it should never have been charged in the first place because the property doesn't normally charge it. That is an important point that's not spelled out necessarily right here, but it's dependent on whether or not the property normally charges it. If you're doing a special where you're waiving it, that is completely different, and we're not going to reverse the charge then, because if we reverse it, it makes it a lot more difficult for us to track what's going on. I understand people don't want to use concessions because that, maybe they're not budgeted. Well, a while ago, accounting created these two codes, app fee concession and admin concession. It says concession on it, but it actually will hit your same GL account that the original fee will. So it will just actually deduct that, similar to a reversal. But the difference is, by using this, we will have a paper trail and be able to see exactly how much, for example, how much money we're losing by waiving them. We can pull a report that will say, you lost $500 or you had $500 of this code, so we know we can put a dollar amount exactly how much each special is costing us, and there's value on that. It accomplishes what you guys need from an operational standpoint, and it accomplishes what we need from an accounting standpoint. So if you have any questions on it, please let us know. But we're obviously seeing this more and more as pre-leasing is kicking off for students. And it is in both systems, RealPage and Entrada. Okay, skips. We've mentioned this on our last call. Did not break well there. But we're seeing an uptick as well in skip issues. What I mean by that is we're having people sit on accounts where they've moved out, but they're not moving them out because they're afraid of vacancy. The moment you know somebody has moved out, unless they've prepaid rent, you need to move them out of the system right then. A lot of our bad debt is actually being inflated because there's a lot of rent that should never have been charged in the first place in the account because they were not in the unit. And so please, you need to be doing daily occupancy checks to check. I understand on student sites that can be difficult, but that's where you need to coordinate with your other staff members. When I was at Branberry, I actually could give a list the account to a maintenance, and they would go and check for me. I realize that maintenance really doesn't love doing those type of things. They're busy too, but that's just one example. If you're doing daily occupancy checks, if you don't know this by now, there are certain things you can look for to see if they are gone. Number one, you can talk to roommates. Number two, you can look for items like toothbrush, milk, TV. I mean, depending on the situation, you can kind of use common sense. If there's big items there, they're probably still there. But if they have like notebooks and pens and that's about it, they're probably gone. So please do your daily occupancy checks. It's really important and it will actually help your bad debt numbers go down. Okay, that kind of leads to our next point smoothly, which is your admin processing. It's really important that we do our best to stay up on things. Time can get away from you on the site. You get bogged down, you start getting phone calls. Trust me, I go through it. Everyone in accounting goes through it where you start the day with a list of things. By the end of the day, you've not even looked at that list because your day's been hijacked. So I understand that. But we're seeing more and more concerning examples where people are delaying move-ins and move-outs, in some cases several weeks. And sometimes it's by an honest mistake. It happens, a file gets misplaced or whatever. But we've also seen times where we've actually seen a deliberate effort to skirt delinquency problems and things by not moving them in, such as a move-in that doesn't get processed because they haven't paid yet. So they're waiting to backdate the move-in until they actually get paid. That's obviously not okay operationally. So things like that we need to really try to step up and be a little bit better on. We also can get burned when we've crossed an accounting period, which is typically the 28th of the month. If you're trying to backdate things over that threshold, we can't. So if somebody moved out on the 20th and you missed it, then we're kind of stuck. We can move them out and then manually adjust everything down the road, but it's a little messier. So please continue to do your best. We don't doubt that everyone already is, but if you need suggestions or help with it because it's a little overwhelming or something, please reach out and we're happy to put you in touch with people we know that have successfully navigated it and stayed on top of things. Online payments, this is always a fun topic for us as we bring it up. And we've mentioned this many times because it's something that our company believes strongly in. We really want to teach our residents how to take care of themselves and how to make their own payments. We want to turn it into a really positive customer service experience where if someone comes in wanting to say, hey, I have a credit card, can you run this for me? We don't just take it from them and take care of it. We actually log them into their portal or show them, have them log in and walk them through side by side, whether it be with an iPad, a computer, a resident business center, whatever the case may be, you can show them how to do it themselves, which will also introduce them to the portal and hopefully get them to use it for the benefits, with work orders, signing renewals, whatever the case may be for that. And one of the biggest things on here, from a selfish point of view on our end, is it removes that liability from us. Residents, anyone in general, if something goes wrong, they want someone to blame. If there's an issue with the payment, we don't want to be put in a position where they say, well, I gave you the information, you entered it, it's your mistake. Because then we're kind of backed into a corner. Do we want to provide good customer service or do we want to fight with them about whose responsibility it was? If they are the ones entering it, that's not a problem anymore and it's on them to do it, and we can still turn it into a good customer service by helping them do it. I realize that's me on a soapbox. I just believe very strongly in this, especially as we push everyone to go paperless. We want our residents to be educated and know how to navigate the online tools that we're providing them. So please make sure that your staff members know how to do that so they can provide that training and assistance to your residents. RealPage, didn't forget about you. We mentioned this last time, but I need to mention it again. Please manually end all your pre-authorized payments at move out. This isn't happening automatically. So we're seeing people move out and then their account get dinged the next month. It depends on how they set up their original payment. Some of them will have set it up to expire when their lease ended, and some of it will be open-ended. And when it's open-ended, that's where they'll get in trouble. Technically, again, it's their mistake, but it creates work on our end because then we usually have to reverse it, cut a check, which obviously incurs additional cost to us. So please, as part of your move-out process, check to see if they have a pre-authorized payment in place so that you can put an end date on it to make sure that we do not have that happen. I'm getting really parched, sorry. Partial payments. This isn't a new one, but yet we're seeing an uptick in this where people, for whatever reason, are accepting partial payments at the site level. To be very clear, we do not accept partial payments. It creates a significant problem because technically you're entering into an oral agreement that you're accepting a partial payment for the month. And if they don't pay the rest of it and we go to court, we have a problem because the judge may or may not hold them to it. They might say, well, by accepting part of the payment, you're accepting that that is all that they have to pay for this time. It's not a door we want to open up and go through. So please stick to no partial payments. One of the situations we're seeing is people are accepting a partial payment, which leaves a small balance on the account, which then are getting hit with late fees. Well, we don't want to reverse those late fees because it was the site's mistake to accept a partial payment that caused it. You can choose to waive the late fee, but we don't want to reverse it. Again, we only want to reverse when the payment or when it should never have happened in the first place. But if it was a site mistake, that's a case where we need to waive it because we need to reflect that it was because of a site mistake where we accepted a partial payment. Again, it's not to get anyone in trouble. It's because we need to properly track what's going on so that we know in situations like this call that we can make sure to bring it up to remind everyone of what our policies are to get everyone on that same page. And speaking of getting everyone on that same page, many of you may or may not have already interacted with Chris. He's our new bigwig that we brought in to actually take over from Art, and he's done some awesome things so far. And one of the things that he's done is actually start a manual where we can actually outline some of the policies and processes all in one spot so that a lot of these questions can be answered with a quick reference to that. So we'll keep you updated and posted on that progress. I'm going to start talking as fast as I can with this. I apologize. We do not have that much more. The NSF fee handling. If you've not looked at the wiki page, then you probably should. We've talked about this a few times, but it's coming up again and again. So our policy as a company is outlined right here. Remember, whenever a payment gets an NSF, the company gets charged that fee, whether or not, no matter what we do with it, we're getting charged that. So the only time that we will actually reverse it, or the only time, I apologize, the only time it should be waived is if the site is at fault. We don't want to, we can't really reverse it. That's there. All we can do is essentially waive it to offset. Residents should be heavily encouraged to enter their own online payments for this reason, because we're seeing a big uptick in this NSF issue. And then obviously the NSF fees must be waived by entering an offsetting credit to the yes with a detailed reason. Might even, or I think it's above now. But generally it's discouraged because it just sets a bad precedent for a fee that we get hit with no matter what. This isn't an additional income for us. This is actually a bank fee that we have to pay. So please, if you have any questions, let us know, but just be careful with the NSFs. No partial payments, I already talked about that. Online applications, this is something that doesn't happen often enough. We really suggest that you try to take the time to review these processes in-house. RealPage, I can actually give you fake data, like fake payment information and whatnot that you can use. If you've ever seen an applicant called James Lamsier, that's what that is. It's the fake info, fake social and everything, so that you can actually see what an applicant would see to test it. It's really important to have that laid out so that problems don't exist that you're unaware of until someone brings it to your attention. Entrada, I do fake applications all the time. If you've seen anything that's called testing, I'm not that clever when it comes to the names on that Entrada side, then that is me testing the information. And I can even assist you in that testing so that you can jump back and forth and, skip the payment section, etc. So you don't have to worry about it. But please take the time to review it. It's important to know what your applicants are seeing. That's where our business comes from. And if our online presence has an issue in any way, then it's going to cost us business, which at the end of the day is a big deal. So please encourage somebody, whether it's you or anyone else, to take the time to review your online presence with applications and renewals. Students are entering that renewal season. I know some sites have already done it. Please find an account you can test this on to see what your process is, or reach out to me and I can arrange a one-on-one practice run with me so that you can see it. But really, you guys should be looking at it at a site level pretty frequently. Technology, unfortunately, tends to break from time to time, so keep an eye on it as much as possible. I did mention that I do test, and so does Jess and a few others, but you can't rely on us to catch everything because we're just as busy. Be aggressive on testing, not passive. Don't wait for the issues to be brought to you. Last thing, and then you guys can get on with your fun day and not have to listen to my amazingly monotone voice. Reversals. This has been a discussion for, I don't know, the last 10 years. But whenever you're actually doing a reversal, whether you have the rights yourself or you're having to make a request, Please, 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 please include your reasons. We need better descriptions. We need to know why we're reversing it, not just one-word answers. Give us a reason, a true reason, so that we can track what's going on. And if that involves applicable additional information, such as it's a transfer or a sublease, you need to let us know what the other units or names are that are involved. So if person A subleased from person B, but person B already paid, so we need to reverse the rent for person A, you need to tell us what that is so that we can make those notes, so that it makes auditing a little easier on our end. I realize that making our job easier is probably not your primary focus, but it's important from an operational point of view so that we know what's going on. All right, that was a lot of information. I appreciate you guys sticking with me as we got through it. It's a lot of stuff we've been seeing come through the accountants as well as help desk, so we felt it was important to bring it to your attention and discuss it. As always, I hope it doesn't come across like we're being preachy. These are just things that we hope can get everyone on the same page to help everyone accomplish the same job in the same ways and hopefully lead everyone to success. We are going to be having our next call in December. You'll probably have a little bit less housekeeping and a little bit more interactive work or guest speaker or whatever. But if you have anything that you would like to see involved in that next call, please let myself and Jessica know as we're starting that agenda now. We want to make sure these calls are valuable. I don't like hearing myself talk for half an hour, believe it or not. So these calls are definitely not for me. So please let us know if there is something that you would like to hear or have us discuss, whether it be on that call or one-on-one, so that we can make sure you get the help that you need. Your residents are your customers. The sites are mine and Jessica's in the accounting department. We are here to do whatever we can to help, and I mean it. That is how I judge myself with how I do my job. This is how I help. So please reach out, let us know, get us feedback. It will only help us make us better. So with that, I'll wrap up the call. Thank you all so much for your time. I know it is valuable. Please keep up the good work and have a great November.
Thank you, Clint.
Thanks, Clint.
Thanks, Clint.
Clint.